Hello and welcome back to my series on light workers and how they can work in the 5D and the 3D with their businesses. So today we are talking about why our light work shouldn't be considered a charity. So if you are watching the replay, make sure you make sure you click on the like and make sure you also put hashtag replay. Thank you guys again for joining me here. So again, the topic of the day is why your light work is a sacred energy exchange and not charity. And listen, I have been there. I have been there with this whole topic, right? I actually struggled to make people understand my gifts. And for those of you who don't know, I've actually had this business for the last, let's say, 4 years now, 5 years now. I used to have an agency, a social media marketing agency before, which what most people considered a 3D sort of 3D sort of business. And it was a freelancing business. I was actually not full time in it. I had a job before that. I had a job while I was doing with that. So now I am working, I have a business that is much more of the 5D reality. So, where I actually work with my clients, with their chakras, specifically with their chakras, their energy centers, to create their best reality. And I actually struggled with this. I struggled to make people understand my gifts, so I actually gave it away for free. And if you haven't followed me on TikTok, if you don't know me from TikTok, I actually grew my TikTok following by doing all these free yes no readings to get people in the door. And while, I got people in the door, I got people into my course, I got people into all these different things, it wasn't serving me. I ended up having to take a lot of breaks because I felt like I was doing it more so as a job. Um, and I wouldn't say I got burnt out, but I guess that's what happened. I did get burned out from it. I had the scarcity mindset. Other than that, because there were a lot of people that were struggling to, put their credit card down, put the money down to actually book the readings and book the upgrades and all that stuff. And you know, and this scarcity mindset came from the fact that there isn't enough, and what if they go to all these other people? And believe me, this scarcity mindset came long before I had this business, long before I ever did really anything, because it started, and I didn't really know this, but it really did start when I was in childhood. I was trying to see where my mic is. Sorry. Um, it started when I was in childhood, not thinking that I was enough um, for things, and that's how I ended up pricing myself in my business, because I just thought like no one was going to buy at that range, and the people that I wanted to buy from, they weren't going to do it at that range, and if they did, they weren't going to do the work. And I want to bring up that point too. Why aren't they doing the work? It's because, and they're not doing the work because you didn't price yourself at that point for them to actually give a shit. It's sad, but it's true. When you price yourself low, a lot of people are not going to show up, and that's actually what I have also learned over the last couple years or so. Even though I was selling lower ticket, I was selling a lot of things lower ticket. I learned that there's just a lot of people that aren't going to show up for themselves at lower ticketed prices. So it wasn't until I actually went through my own self-worth journey, why I had those specific mindsets, why I worked with my sacral chakra, the savasana chakra. And I want to talk a little bit more about the savasana in a second. But savasana chakra is where your self-worth is. So, and I would say it's a combination between solar plexus and sacral, but it really does start with the sacral chakra. If you guys don't know what sacral chakra is, it's this chakra right here. For many women, that is the womb chakra. I call that the womb chakra. It's where it's right below your belly button. Physically in your body, it's right below your belly button. It's where a lot of your creativity comes from, a lot of your emotions, a lot of your ego, divine feminine, divine masculine. Those all get stored in there. All right. Everybody says they have a gut feeling, oh gosh, my stomach just dropped to my stomach just dropped to the floor. They're talking about the sacral. The sacral, you're feeling a charge in your sacral chakra. That's a charge to your self-worth. That's either a charge to your self-worth or your ego or other things, right? And that chakra needed to be worked on. And that chakra, I had to do a lot of deep shadow work around that chakra, because I found out I had a lot of narcissists. I attracted a lot of narcissists in my life that just took pieces of myself, and which affected my sacral chakra and made me not see my worth at all. So I had to do a lot of that deep shadow work on myself to make me realize, I'm like, wait a minute. I was pricing my coaching packages were at 3,700. And I was like, I'm going to be the affordable coach. Not knowing, right? And you know what? I sold packages at that rate, 444, as I said that. I sold packages at that rate, right? But I found out very quickly, after I sold all those, and I was doing well with all of those, and I was just like, okay, this is great. A year into it, I found out I had all of these light codes and upgrades, and all of this change happened, and I realized I wasn't selling at that rate anymore. And I'm like, why am I not selling at that rate anymore? And literally because I found out I was pricing myself too low. I went to a retreat. Okay. I went to a retreat, which I actually spoke at, by the way. If you're on YouTube, you can actually see my my talk on YouTube. You can actually see my talk on there. Um, don't worry about it. I was actually a little bit nervous, so don't be too hard on me, okay? um, but I spoke at this retreat, this summit, this conference, this retreat that I was at in Canada. And I was so nervous because there are so many people there that were pricing themselves at $10,000 for like 3 months, you know? Um, and I was so freaking nervous. Hello, hi Rana, how are you? And I was so nervous. I was so freaking nervous because you know why? I realized that I was probably the lowest priced coach there. That's the truth. I was the lowest priced coach there. And I was a speaker. I was a speaker, and I'm like, holy crap, I'm actually pricing myself low. And I got that confirmation when I talked to one of the leaders, the leader of that retreat. on a call, I got that confirmation. I'm like, I am pricing myself too low. And I don't know why. And that's when I realized, I was like, what am I doing here? Like, yes, okay, yes, I did grow, and that's a huge accomplishment. I grew my TikTok. I grew a lot of my social media, but TikTok was the biggest place I grew. And I realized at that moment that I was like, I don't think any of these multi six figure entrepreneurs have 14,000 followers on there, but I also don't think that's where they're getting their follow. I also don't think that's where they're getting their money. They're not like putting um they're not they are not doing free readings and doing a live show every day. Um and that is when I realized, like, these guys are still making money. And that is when I learned, I was like, I'm that not much is going to happen if I keep giving away my gifts for free, right? So that is what I want to talk about more so today. What are you guys going to be doing when people are going to be asking for free stuff, free things? I want free. I'm like, listen, you have stuff for free. And I actually do give a lot away. I give a lot away for free, you guys. I give so much away. I give so much away for free. Um, but when it comes to my services, I do price myself high. And that's because I've learned it takes a lot of my energy to do something, to do a lot of these things. So I had to price myself accordingly, right? So my lower tiered packages like, if you want a Reiki session with me, it's 111. But if you want a soul aligned chakra session with me, that's 222. And a lot of people will still think that's too low, you know? And I would agree. I would agree. And at some point, I'm probably at the end of the year, I'm probably going to raise those prices too, because that is where the energy is going. So I have seen people price their readings at $555. So, there you go. Like, it has a certain range, right? So it takes money to make money, but if you want people to get serious about you, they really need to get serious about their money. And the only way to do that is to do a fair energy exchange. Okay? Here's the reality. Your light work is not a charity. Your light work is not a charity. I am going to say that again. Your light work is not a charity. All right? Unless you have actually said it's a 501c and you've labeled it a nonprofit and it's a 501c, and you get all your money from donations, that's fine. That's a different type of journey. But most people are in the business of making money. Most people are in the business of making money, and your work is not a charity. It's a sacred reciprocity that honors the giver and the receiver. So here's different ways you can sell from the truth. Here's different ways that I have sold from the truth. I anchor an equal energy exchange, which means before my calls, and I put in my journal, and I actually tell my clients to do this, affirm in your journal, put your hands right here on your sacral chakra, say my gifts deserve an equal energy return. And I also love to do angel numbers in my prices. I love to put angel numbers on my prices so people can get that in their head, that this is a sacred energy exchange. Number 2, frame payments as energy agreements. Release the price and put energy exchange in conversations. Explain how fees create committed transformative containers. And that's what I've done. It's a transformative containers. I'm actually setting up a container right now as we speak, which it would be, it's actually going to be a course slash container. It's going to be a course slash container for a mid-tiered pricing point. Trust clients with the soul level, yes. Releasing the need to convince. If you are convincing people, if people need convincing, they are not for you. That's actually the unfortunate truth that I actually had to learn. I would get on a sales call with somebody and they'll be like, well, you have great testimonials, but I don't know. I feel like I need to see like a testimonial from you that says, a testimonial from somebody that did your service that said like, oh, I got $10,000 out of doing this coaching with you. And I'm like, what? Which, by the way, I have done. I do have that testimonial, just so you know. I do have that testimonial that somebody actually did. She got $10,000 in bonds. She manifested it. And this was before that though. This was before that, and she was like, I gotta see that. So because, like, and I was just like, okay, I don't have that. I'm not for you. I'm not for you. If you already need that convincing people, and it's just like, this is not for you. The right clients already will know if they want to work with you. And I also have to say, stop giving discounts. And this is something that I actually had to work through as well. Like I did sales, I did Diwali sales, I did birthday sales, I did all of these different types of discounts and sales on my services. Not on my services, but my courses and everything. And I just stopped doing it. I had to stop doing it because I'm like, well, this like, I put so much time and energy into it. And I'm like, no, I don't need to do that, right? Your worthiness allows others to honor their own. And I will tell you right now, it is never, the hardest clients I've ever had are not the ones that have paid in full. They're always the ones that always had to have it's always the lowest ticketed one that I actually had to discount, or that I had to add things for them to feel comfortable with. So you guys have to realize that, like, money is not, it's an energy exchange, and it's an energy that we put onto it. It is not an energy that you put into it, because we put names to things. And that is also something that I realize. Hi, Rana, how are you? And I'm not sir. And that was something that I actually had to realize on my own, that money and energy and all of these things, my relationship with things like money and self-worth, all came from places of, childhood trauma, things, having conversations, hearing conversations around the house of things not being, we can't afford this, we can't afford that. But it also came from the fact that hearing things like, you can never do this, this can never happen, you wouldn't be able to do it, and that is the deeper shadow work that I actually do with my clients. I actually figure out, in my work with my clients, I actually figure out what is going on inside the chakras, what people's shadows are, what your specific shadows are in your chakras, in all of your chakras. And then I work through them with you, right? I work through them with you, create a plan, and work on healing them. I also do my own version of the energy work too. I do a combination of Reiki. I do a combination of a lot of things. I had a lot of things taught to me because I went, I've worked with shamans and things like that before, and I actually have taken. I took a lot of these things and came up with my own system, and that is what we call the LumiFlow system, right? LumiFlow. And it's the most wonderful system that I have seen out there. There is nothing like this, you guys. My LumiFlow is completely, it's new. No one has ever seen this. And even if there is, no one is doing it like I am. Because I can see your chakras. And by the way, the chakras that are the most blocked, if you guys want to know, the chakras that are the most blocked in people are the sacral chakra. And I've given a lot of chakra readings, right? I've done a lot of chakra readings. Sacral and throat are the most blocked, as well as root, sacral, throat, and solar plexus, the lower chakras. And the lower chakras are always blocked because why? People aren't grounded. People aren't grounded in their energy. They aren't grounded in themselves. They have a lot of people I found, and the people that I've read at least, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of shame around things like money, things about abandoning their own self into somebody else. There's a lot of self-abandonment that comes, right? Lots of self-abandonment that I find, and that's all rooted in the sacral chakra and the root chakra too. But sacral chakra is what I find the most, one of the most blocked. So besides doing those things, how can you all fix it? You can fix it by doing a sacral chakra meditation, rubbing your hands, putting it on right on your sacral. Again, the sacral chakra is right there below your belly button, right below your belly button. And imagining a white light, doing some box breathing, belly breathing, imagining a white light hitting right to that part, and imagining that white light just hitting right there as you inhale, and as you exhale, imagining black smoke coming out. Okay? You imagine that black smoke coming out. Then once you're in that meditation, you can imagine, being confident and in your self-worth. How does owning your self-worth feel? Being in that feeling. And it's really quite fitting that I'm doing this, that I'm saying this on the Libra full moon. It is the Libra full moon today, and it's actually, was it yesterday? I know I think it just happened. So we still have the energy of the Libra full moon because moon phases last about 24 to 48 hours after it happens too. You can feel the energy up to 48 hours before. I always do. I always feel like full moons and new moons like 2 to 3 days before. How I'll know is I'll get intense dreams. I'll astral project and things like that. So, yeah, like it's quite fitting to start working on the feeling of things, because that's what this new moon was about. It was about feeling happy. You don't always want to, when you want to manifest things, it's not always what you want, it's what you want to feel. Okay, it's not exactly what you want, but it's what you want to feel, right? It's what you want to feel. So I want a new car. No, yes, you want a new car, but you want to feel luxurious. What does feeling luxurious mean to you? Well, it feels like, feeling comfortable in my skin when I wear that faux fur jacket, or it feels comfortable when I wear those expensive boots and the silk pajamas that I wear to bed, right? Whatever makes you feel luxurious. It's not like, it's a feeling. It's a feeling. Luxury is a feeling, right? Luxury is a feeling. These gold earrings are a feeling, right? You don't want $10,000. You want to know what it feels like to have $10,000. So if I ask you, what does $10,000 feel like to you? What will